Today, after 3 years, I am coming back to Hogwarts Legacy to thoroughly test every single graphics setting and show you the absolute best configurations. With these optimized settings, you can literally double your frame rate without sacrificing significant visual quality. So, let's get straight into it. Effect quality. This setting primarily shows itself during combat sequences, though you can notice its impact in some other scenes as well. It also affects lighting quality, but these changes are so subtle that you will not notice them during actual gameplay. When you increase this setting, particle density increases accordingly. Performance-wise, in some scenes the difference is minimal and barely noticeable. However, in others, you should expect at least an 8% frame rate drop when going from low to ultra. The most significant performance hit occurs when moving from high to ultra, so I recommend using the high setting. Material quality. This setting changes the quality of various materials throughout the game world. As you can see, the main visual difference is between low and medium settings. Performance-wise, this option is not particularly demanding, with only about a 3% frame rate drop in the worst-case scenario. For this reason, I recommend using the Ultra setting. Fog quality. Even on the low setting, the fog quality looks good, and there is virtually no visual difference between the lowest and highest settings. When it comes to performance, however, the story changes. The Ultra setting is about 9% slower than low, while offering no visual improvement whatsoever. Therefore, I recommend the medium setting, which delivers the same visual quality as Ultra, but with better frame rates. Sky quality. This setting determines cloud quality. If I were choosing purely based on visuals, Ultra would be the best choice. But when I look at the frame rate impact of Ultra, it becomes clear that it is not a good option. The medium setting is 13% slower than low, but offers acceptable quality. I recommend this as the minimum. Foliage quality. This setting determines vegetation density. When moving from medium to high, the level of detail increases dramatically. If your graphics card has extra headroom, I definitely recommend using high. However, if you want higher frame rates, medium is your best choice. Since my GPU is lower end and high reduces frame rates by 20% compared to medium, I personally prefer the medium setting. Post-processing quality. When moving from medium to high, ambient occlusion quality improves significantly. Between high and ultra, there is not much visual difference. Additionally, moving from low to medium enables chromatic aberration and also enables light shafts. If you want most post-processing effect to be active, I recommend the high setting. High is about 5% slower than low, but because ambient occlusion is so important visually, I strongly recommend using the high setting. Shadow quality. This setting changes shadow resolution. The increased shadow clarity is clearly visible when using high and ultra settings. High offers better clarity but lower frame rates compared to medium. In the worst-case scenario, expect a 9% frame rate drop when moving from medium to high, since shadows exist throughout virtually the entire game world, and the low and medium settings do not look particularly good. I recommend using the high setting. Texture quality. This setting changes texture filtering quality. You can notice this when looking at ground surfaces, though in actual gameplay you will never notice such fine details. This setting also affects texture sharpness. When moving from medium to high, texture clarity improves significantly. If you have an 8GB graphics card and want to use ultra textures, here's what you need to do. Keep resolution at 1080p or lower and turn off all ray tracing options. In this case, you can safely set textures to maximum. As you can see, even on Ultra, VRAM usage stays below 8GB, and the game runs without stuttering. So here, I recommend the Ultra setting. View, distance quality. This setting determines the level of detail for objects in the distance. When moving from high to ultra, detail improves dramatically, but there's a cost involved. Having compared all settings visually, you now understand why Ultra is so demanding. Ultra is 25% slower than High. You saw the reason for this performance drop during our visual comparison. Therefore, I recommend using the High setting. Population Quality. Each time you change this setting, you need to reload the game for it to apply properly. As you can see, on Ultra there are significantly more characters, making the game world feel alive and dynamic. When under GPU load, frame rate drops by about 8%. However, when under CPU load, expect significantly larger performance drops. In summary, if you have a weak CPU, set this to the lowest setting. If you have a powerful CPU, set it to the highest. Ray Trace Reflections. Here we have 4 settings. On low and medium, even with ray tracing enabled, reflections still become blurry. On high and ultra, the blurring issue when changing camera angles is resolved. If I were making decisions purely based on visual comparisons, I would say enable reflections. But now that we're looking at the numbers, I strongly recommend not enabling reflections at all. Using reflections at any setting not only destroys frame rates, but also drastically increases both types of memory usage. With this level of performance penalty, there is simply no reason to use reflections. Ray Trace Shadows. Now for shadows. Low and medium offer roughly comparable quality. Moving to high, shadows become softer, but also extremely noisy. It seems the ray tracing issues have not been fully resolved. And in performance testing, we see the same results as before. So now we have shadows that are both poor quality and reduce frame rates by up to 25%. Better to keep them turned off. Ray Traced Ambient Occlusion. Now for Ray Traced Ambient Occlusion. Ambient occlusion significantly improves image quality in some scenes while having no noticeable effect in others. But the common factor across all testing is that ambient occlusion reduces frame rates by up to 13% while dramatically increasing both types of memory usage. I honestly do not understand why ray tracing is so demanding in this game. The visual comparisons simply do not justify the frame rate impact. So this one is also better left turned off. Ray Trace Geometry Quality. And finally, the last setting relates to geometric quality. This setting is dependent on all the previous ray tracing options and severely reduces frame rates, so it is best left turned off as well. Here we have a comparison between optimized settings and ultra settings. Using these optimized settings, you can increase your frame rate by 100 to 125% without sacrificing image quality. In some scenes, performance gains can even reach 200%, though that is an exception rather than the rule. Most of the time, you will see that 125% increase. These optimized settings do not just increase frame rates. They also simultaneously reduce VRAM and system RAM usage dramatically. So gamers with only 16 gigabytes of RAM will benefit the most from these settings. The ray tracing implementation in this game is completely dysfunctional and cannot be recommended even for high-end cards. Even though the game was released in 2023 and uses Unreal Engine 4, it remains demanding and puts significant pressure on the CPU. Apply these optimized settings and let me know in the comments how helpful this video was for you. Also, to see more videos like this, do not forget to subscribe to the channel, like, and share. Until next time, goodbye.